Alright, so this video today is about third-party tracking systems. Set up specific, like softwares like AdStage is an example, not to pick on them or to single them out or anything, that can basically be used to track your PPC results, whether that's through Google. Most people use it actually to track all of their PPC, since there's so many different PPC networks out there: Google, Facebook, Taboola, Outbrain, whatever they're using their ads on, so they can have one dashboard to see everything. Kind of like what Google Analytics actually offers, but I guess some people offer a little bit better UX or design, or add a few extra ways of viewing the data. But what this video specifically is going to do is compare those tools compared to Google Analytics, and what I feel Google Analytics can't do, or what it does different, so you can make a decision whether or not you should use these tools, or maybe even if you use one of these tools now, what some general insights or some good to know information, if you will, about the tools, so you can decide if you want to continue using them based upon just my experience using these kind of tools, seeing a lot of our clients use these kind of tools, and what are the shortfalls with them. So anyway, I have a short list here of things to go through in regards to these tools, whether you want to use them or not, until you're using them. So the first thing here is, as far as my opinion goes, everything that can be done on these tools can be done with Google Analytics. You may not be aware of it, and I feel like, again, I'm not picking on anyone individually, but unless there's a tool that I haven't seen before or tested, and if you have a tool, feel free to reach out to me and set me straight. But I've seen a lot of these tools. I haven't personally seen any of the tools that you can't, whatever you want to do with it, can't be done through Google Analytics. So whether it's setting up custom reporting so you can have a customized view of everything that your KPIs or key performance indicators that are important to you all in one place, that are saved, and you can go directly to them. You can compare different channels, PPC channels, alongside each other, compare PPC to organic, PPC to referral traffic, whatever you want to do there. In that, there's ways to even upload offline data to Google Analytics about your purchases, your sales, a lifetime value of a customer. When somebody ends up making more than one purchase, you can upload that to Google Analytics and see your data there, just like some of these programs offer, or tend to, not all, but some do offer. There's ways to differentiate through Google Analytics. Basically, how much purchase, the people coming in, are they new customers, are they past customers, are they current clients, are they past clients? You can do that kind of stuff as well. So, which is important to know. And if you don't know that Google Analytics can do what you want it to do, all you got to do is get with an analytics expert. There's Jeff Analytics is one guy that I personally know that can do this kind of stuff. That you can reach out to on the web, that is a specialist in analytics, but you pretty much anymore have to work with a specialist to do this kind of stuff. Unless you have an in-house person who can spend a lot of time at it to read the documentation, to use it and set things up the way that you want. To do things like doing the lifetime value tracking of a customer by channel and so on and so forth, that really makes Google Analytics useful as some of these other programs like AdStage. So, with that, going on the second item on my list, just a basic questions and concerns that most people have with these softwares. Lots of times you're going to find if you do, so going back to number one, I'll say that the main thing that I feel like the selling point of these softwares are, when you use them, is that it's easy to set up and the interface looks sexy, if you will, and that's pretty much it. I'm a contrarian here myself, so I actually just put things out the way that I think that they are, and if you don't like it, basically I'm just giving you the hard truth, the way that I feel and see things for the last 15 years of kind of doing this stuff. You set up these tools, it's a tool like AdStage. First of all, what I always recommend that you do is you're going to not take AdStage's data as is. So even when you compare data to like Google Analytics, very little, but still some does apply. But like Facebook, their PPC data that you get via their dashboard to Google Analytics, if you're using it, you'll see discrepancies there. I'll explain a little bit why there's discrepancies between those. But the big red flag for me as I'm using these programs is it seems to be very large discrepancies between what Google Analytics provides and what some of these other programs provide. And I don't know if that's just intentional or non-intentional. Again, I'm not picking on anybody specifically. But one thing you're definitely going to want to do is, once you have the thing set up, if it is doing conversion tracking or revenue tracking for you, you're certainly going to want to go through each one of your individual goals that you're tracking, and then compare your data that you have in Google Analytics to some of these other tools and see what the differences are, and then go to the tool provider and have them provide you a clear answer as to why the data is different and why it's overcounting or undercounting. For some, I haven't seen that people are deliberately trying to mislead anybody necessarily and overcount, but it seems like most of these programs either undercount or overcount. And a lot of that could potentially do, so you'll test it, but due to what is called a cookie window. So most of these programs work off of cookies, not Google Analytics per se, but the ad systems themselves and these programs themselves. You can either do basically what is, you can track a customer once they've been on your site, and when that same person comes back to your site again, you're treating them as a new person. And let's say somebody clicked on your ad, came to your site, left, came back a week later after typing in your brand name on Google, clicked on an organic listing. That goal that you have tracked through the program is going to show up as Google Analytics or Google Organic. Versus if you look at Google Ads, that same customer's goal looks like it came from Google Ads if you look at your tracking there. So, so a cookie window will allow you to track where that person originally came from for a period of time that is set by the program. Different programs have different windows, so you'll have to check into with the company themselves that you're using what that is. But with that, there should be a way to adjust that window to down to 0, so you can directly compare Google Analytics to the program, which is one way to test things. But more so than that, what I would specifically more so do is go through and once a month test, and don't just rely on the program the first time in case they are trying to mislead you. Since this is so important, the whole point of this program is to make quantitative marketing decisions and business and financial decisions on your marketing budget and so forth. It isn't good enough, in my opinion, to go through it and make some test purchases or fill out some forms that you're tracking through the program and see that your data matches up the same in the program as you're pretending to be the customer or client. I'd set a reminder to have someone do it in your company once a month and make sure that the data remains consistent. I've seen more often than not that the data does not remain consistent, and more so than the reason of this cookie window. By default, what I found, the software companies, when you approach them, they'll mention something about the cookie window. So with that, you got to kind of work. Don't just let them off the hook so easily. Go ahead and test it as if you were the customer, and then come back to them. If they can't answer your questions, then just don't use the program, because ultimately, what's the point? The front end data about the clicks and your budget and all that's useless without the conversion data and having clean data that's coming in that's consistently right. And if month to month you're not getting to where it's low maintenance, where you basically virtually never have to mention anything to them again, why is the data off? You don't want to use that program. Now so I mentioned the benefits of potentially using it over Google Analytics, which Google Analytics is free. It's a paid software, so you've got to be getting some more out of it than Google Analytics provides. Me personally, if I was running a company like that, and I wouldn't, because there seems to be 5-10 different companies, maybe even more, that do this, that all kind of do the same thing. I guess I'm not an expert in it. And again, if you have anybody from one of these companies that run a company that does tracking software like this, let me know what specifically your software does, but it's different and why it's specifically worth the money if you're savvy enough to hook up and get Google Analytics the right way, that has, to use all its features. Either if that program made it easier to set up, which Google Analytics, I can't see how it would be easier to set up than Google Analytics than using Tag Manager. But if it was, that would be a reason why I would want to use it. If you're trying to do it internally, considering, anytime you set things up the first time yourself, it's going to be way harder. So if you're bringing an internal person in to set things up on the tracking, either through Google Analytics or one of these tracking softwares, it might be a little easier to get over the hump to get it actually set up. Of course, the tracking software companies can provide better support as to why the conversion data is off, or how to get some particular aspects of what you want set up. But with Google Analytics having such good documentation and they have a help forum, I can't necessarily see that as a benefit either. But specifically, the key feature that I find under 3 here that would sell me on, or would I would recommend this to our clients, is that they actually helped you set it up yourself. If you've got, if you signed up, and maybe some companies do it again, let me know if you do this, guys, and I would recommend it. If you're going to go ahead and set up all, sit down with the client, ask what goals the business has, set up the tracking for them, explain how they're going to track those goals, and then you're can go to town from there to know exactly where to look to get your key performance indicators in that tracking software. That would be worth the extra premium, if you will, to pay for that software, in my opinion. But it would, and that's. And the reason why I say that is, and going into number 4 here, it would have to be something substantial like that to consider using it, because once you stop using that software, all your data, poof, gone. So if you get it a couple of years in, you decide that, I'm not quite sure why we're using this, or you try to shift gears. 2 years with your data, just want you to think about it now, how painful that's going to be to lose that data. With Google Analytics, you're never going to lose the data. You're never probably going to change your mind once you start using it. There's no free alternative, at least, that matches it. And so that, you're going to have to force yourself to think, do I want to use this for the next 10 years? Literally, when you start using one of these softwares. And so you should not compromise on getting exactly what you want out of it. Because if you don't, when you stop, you're going to lose your data. And it was worse than if you never even did it at all, or should I say, actually spent a little bit of extra effort it took to get Google Analytics set up for you instead. So anyway, this video was to cover some of these softwares. I see clients all the time that say, why is it my sales are going down? I'm looking at my tracking software, I looked at the software, I looked at Google Analytics, the numbers are way different. I can usually rely on like the e-commerce tracking functionality of Google Analytics per se, but then when we go and we look at the tracking program, it's way, we're not talking about 5-10%, we're talking about like 50 to 100% sometimes. Literally that bad. That's happened multiple times to me. Enough to where I wanted to make this video and explain to everybody else, like, hey, you should seriously think about what program you should use. There's definitely probably some good ones, but tons of bad ones. And definitely don't take the word of any company just with a slick talking salesman or sales page, or that interface looks attractive, or good copy on the website, whatever it is. That you actually go ahead and you check it out for yourself, make sure the data matches up, and you actually are getting something back from the software that you can't get with Google Analytics for the price that they charge, and with the drawback of you're not going to keep your data once you leave. Okay, so anyway, I have lots of videos like this on my channel. You can go ahead and check that out. Not so much about just the software and things, but on marketing strategy based upon my 15 years of experience doing PPC, and can learn a lot of things about. There's more in-depth information on my channel and on my company's blog than you're going to find elsewhere about how to actually make money using PPC. So go ahead and check that out and subscribe if you like this type of in-depth information. So I keep coming out with a video every week to go over new strategies, stuff that's working in our company with our clients that we have at any given time. Thanks.